What is going on today, guys? So today I want to talk about the best heavy loadout for ranked within the finals. So to start things off, the best overall weapon for the heavy build for ranked within the finals is the SA-1216, aka the heavy shotgun. Now the reason being is because even with the nerfs done to the heavy shotgun, that being a nerf done to its damage and to its rate of fire, the thing is still super powerful. This thing still shreds through enemies. Now, yes, it's not going to be as fast, and you're doing a little bit less damage, but even if, look how fast I'm killing these enemies, even with the nerf stun to it. I'm still absolutely destroying these enemies pretty quickly. And even with like a heavy, like, the lights just you rip through, mediums rip through, but got a heavy, like even with the heavy, you're kind of ripping through it. So the SA-1216 is just such a fantastic option to this day. You know, again, even after it's nerfed done to it. And so long as you play properly with it and you know how to close the distance properly, so you get, you know, close to your enemy and be able to get in their face and deal the most amount of damage possible, you want to combine it with things like your mesh shield. So you throw up your mesh shield, get close with your mesh shield, take it down, take out the enemy. Or even your dome shield, you throw your dome shield down and then close the distance and kill the enemy. So by using both your shields effectively, you could be very dangerous with this weapon. And I think at higher levels, I'd say from like gold and above, a lot of heavy players are going to be using this gun, and honestly you should too, playing as a heavy, especially if you're someone who likes to play more close up, you like to get more aggressive, and you like to take more gunfights. This is definitely the gun for you. If you're like an aggressive heavy player, then the heavy shotgun is definitely the gun for you, and I'd still highly recommend it. Out of all the heavy weapons that are currently available, I'd say the heavy shotgun definitely takes the lead at the top. However, there still are other options if you are someone who doesn't like to run the shotgun at all and you want something with a little bit more range. There are options that you can use. The next one being the Lewis gun. Now, the thing with the Lewis gun is it's extremely powerful. It rips through enemies. The thing is the recoil pattern on the Lewis gun is really bad. So I'm going to show you the recoil pattern now and just show you how much it kicks when you use it. So as you see, it starts out fine. Like the first half of the clip is good. It like goes up, and then the second half of the clip, it does like that zigzag. You know, it kind of goes straight up, which is easy to control. But then as soon as it hits like the second half of the clip, it just does this weird like zigzag shape, and it's just very hard to control. So if I'm spraying an enemy, like that first half of the clip is fine, but as soon as I hit the second half, it's very hard to hit the rest of my shots. So I would really only use this gun if you are a very high skilled player who has a lot of time using the Lewis gun and you have the recoil pattern down pat. Like, you know exactly how to control this weapon. You know exactly how to manage it, not only up close, but at long ranges as well. Because like up close, it's not too bad at controlling. You still will definitely miss a couple shots, but at a distance, this thing is like nearly impossible to control. Like I'm struggling to be able to kill that guy at a distance. So while I do recommend this gun, I wouldn't recommend it if you are someone who's maybe new to ranked or just getting into ranked or new to playing the heavy build and hasn't really used the Lewis gun that much. I wouldn't recommend touching this gun. And if you do want to use it, then I would get good with it playing in casual first before you go into a ranked environment with it. Now, the third best option that I do suggest is the M60. The M60 right now is actually really good. It could kind of rip apart enemies. It still has a pretty noticeable recoil pattern. I wouldn't say it's as bad as the Lewis gun, but it's still really noticeable. I'll show you it right now. So as you see, it starts off like kind of curving to the right or to the left, and then it goes right and then to the left and to right. So it's like this big old squiggle that it does, but it's not as significant as the Lewis guns. So it's a little bit easier to control, and it has a lot more ammo that you could work with. I'd say the only thing that sucks is that the iron sights really aren't the best on this gun. However, you do get that little bit extra ammo, which is nice. The only other thing that sucks too about it is you'll notice when I aim in, there's like this kind of darkness that surrounds your screen when you aim in compared to when you aim out. I'm not sure exactly what that's called, but it's kind of annoying when you're aiming in and shooting because it kind of blurs your surroundings a little bit, which sucks. And just like with the Lewis gun, like while you could easily mow down enemies up close, when it comes to a distance, that recoil is definitely noticeable. A lot more noticeable and a lot more harder to control. So you're definitely going to struggle hitting shots with this at a distance. But again, it's not as bad as the Lewis gun. The Lewis gun's definitely a lot worse than the M60 in terms of recoil, at least. And the M60 is going to be a lot more forgiving because it has more ammo than the Lewis gun. So I think those are the big differences between the Lewis gun and the M60. But they're both still extremely viable options that you can use if you want something with a little bit more range and you'd like to fight at more of a distance. Then I would suggest using either the Lewis gun or the M60, depending on your skill level and your experience. Now, as for the other choices here for the weapons for the heavy builds, I really wouldn't touch anything else, at least at like higher levels within ranked. Don't get me wrong, all these other options can be good, that being the flamethrower, the MGL32, the KS23, and the sledgehammer. But really, the best of the best stuff is going to be the SA-12-16, the Lewis gun, and the M60. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed the flamethrower is really popular as of lately. And yes, the flamethrower can be good. The thing that sucks about the flamethrower though is once you're out of the flamethrower's range, which you could kind of back away from pretty easily, seeing as how if you're a medium or a light, you're much faster than heavy, so you could back away a lot more quickly. Once you're out of that range, it's kind of useless, you know, it's not going to harm you at all. But if you are able to utilize your mesh shield and your dome shield and close that gap, it can be good. I still think that the heavy shotgun is going to be doing a lot more damage compared to the flamethrower. So that's why I would suggest the heavy shotgun over the flamethrower. But the flamethrower can be good, don't get me wrong. And it can be good in cases where, like, if there's gas, you could, you know, take away all the gas just by using the flamethrower. So like there's a huge cloud of gas right here. I can actually go grab some gas. So like, let's say, you know, there's some gas right here and you want it to be gone. You could easily just do this with the flamethrower and, you know, now there's no more gas, which is really nice. And like I said, the flamethrower can be strong, but I just think at higher levels, like again from like gold and above, it depending on your experience, like if you're an extremely experienced player and you have a lot of experience using the flamethrower and you're very good at the flamethrower, then yeah, I could see it being viable. But for most players, it's just not going to be the best option. You're really going to want to stick to the heavy shotgun, the Lewis gun, or the M60. As for the MGL32, I really wouldn't touch it. It's just not that good. The problem is, like, even if you hit an enemy with a round, it just bounces right off of them, which kind of sucks. It doesn't like blow up on impact. If it blew up on impact, then that would be kind of different, but it doesn't. It just bounces right off of them, which sucks. So that means you have to kind of like shoot rounds around the enemy, which makes it a lot more difficult to get the kill, because you have to kind of play around them a lot, like shoot rounds around them, and it's especially hard when they're moving like this to kind of know exactly where the rounds are going to go. So like I said, if you were able to just like directly like hit them with it and it explodes on impact, this would be a lot better, but unfortunately that's not the case. As for the KS-23, it's just not good. It's unfortunately, like, even with all the buffs done to it, you just have to be so deadly accurate with it that it's just not worth it, especially in like high intensity situations. You're most likely not going to be able to hit all your shots with it, and on top of that, it takes like a million years to reload this thing. So personally, I just wouldn't touch it. It's fun, don't get me wrong. Like in casual play, it's definitely fun to use, but in a competitive, like ranked environment, I wouldn't use it. As for the sledgehammer, I mean, the sledgehammer, the biggest problem with it is if an enemy sees that you have a sledgehammer, they could easily just run away from you, right? Like you have no ability to be able to stop the enemy from getting away from you in any way. Like if this is the enemy and they see that you have a sledgehammer, they can just start running away. And what can you do in that situation? Yeah, okay, you could shoot your RPG at them, but that doesn't stop them. They're still just going to keep on running. You have to be able to get up close, personal, and be able to actually get really close to be able to hit them. Yeah, once you get up close and you hit them, this thing does a lot of damage. I mean, I just hit it heavy with it. So don't get me wrong, it does a lot of damage. And you could try closing the gap with like the dome shield or the mesh shield. But again, they could just keep on running, do some damage to you, keep on running, do some damage to you, keep on running, do some damage to you. So the only way a sledgehammer would be good is with an extremely coordinated team. You know, you're all talking, you're all communicating, and you're all like helping each other out. Then maybe it could work. But most of the time, the sledgehammer is just, it's not going to be a good option for at least the majority of people. All right, so now moving on to the best specialization for the heavy, I would say it's the mesh shield. Unfortunately, the mesh shield did get some nerfs done to it. As you see, the total health for the mesh shield is only 750 right now instead of 1,000, which does suck. I think they should up it a little bit. Maybe I feel like 900 is kind of the sweet spot, maybe 850, but 750 just feels a little too low. Even with 750 though, it's just still really useful, especially if you're running the heavy shotgun. I mean, it helps you to close the gap, get up close and personal, get that kill. It helps to protect your team. You know, let's say this is my teammate right here. I could kind of protect my teammate while they deal some damage. And you know, maybe they're trying to break the enemy's mesh shield, or they're trying to just get some damage off because I'm low and I can't really fight, so my teammate can kind of fight for me while I protect them. So there's just a lot of scenarios where the mesh shield is just super good and could not only benefit you but your team as well. So I highly recommend using it. I'd say it is the best specialization for the heavy. Again, even with the nerfs done to it, it still is the best option. As for the other two options, they are good and they're kind of being seen a lot more. I'd still think at higher levels, you're mostly just going to see the mesh shield. However, the charge and slam can be good. I mean, it could help to do what I just did, like destroy parts of buildings, you know, cause a lot of destruction, and it's good for damaging enemies like a lot. Like you could really hurt an enemy if you are able to hit, you know, once or twice on an enemy with it. You could do a lot of damage to the enemy and really hurt them a good amount, and could even like be the difference of you getting the kill or dying just by using a charge and slam. Like I've had instances where like people have used the charge and slam on me in a situation, a 1v1 scenario where like I have them low, but I'm low as well, and like if I hit like 2 more bullets I can kill them, but then all of a sudden they use the charge and slam and then kill me because of it. So the charge and slam definitely can be useful, and I could definitely see it if you are more of a person who doesn't really like to utilize the mesh shield as much, and or you're like a solo queue player and you don't have like a coordinated team to play with, then yeah, I could definitely see you using the charge and slam over the mesh shield. It just kind of all depends on your situation, your team, and your team's coordination. As for the goo gun, it can be good. I mean, it could be very annoying, I think is the best word for it. Like I could well, I guess it doesn't work on the practice dummies, but if this was like a real enemy, I could put goo down and it'll literally stop the enemy from moving, and then with that I could close the gap on them, get close up to them, and then get the kill. I could also pretty much make my own cover with the goo gun. So like if there was actually, like, go over here, seeing as how there's a hole in the wall right here, if I don't want a hole to be here anymore, I can kind of goo it off, and now there's no longer a hole in the wall. Yes, I mean, this hole can be easily broken. I just have to throw some explosives at it, and now the goo's gone, or set it on fire. But the point being is you have to use some sort of utility to be able to get rid of it, right? And or you have to go up to it and hit it a couple times. So the goo gun can be good. I just think you need a very coordinated team to be able to use it. It just all depends on your team and how you guys are playing and how well you guys play together and how coordinated you guys are. I could see in certain scenarios the goo gun can definitely be good, but overall the safest pick for most people is going to be the mesh shield. Now, as for the gadgets, I'd say if you are playing heavy, the best 2 gadgets that you should always be running, no matter what, if you are a heavy player, it should be the RPG and the dome shield. These should always be 2 gadgets you are running no matter what if you are playing heavy, as they are the 2 best gadgets for the heavy. The RPG is just good for doing a lot of damage to a player initially. So like when you first get into a gunfight, you get RPG a player, which gets them down by a good amount, especially a light. I mean, it does 140 damage, so that's pretty much all the light's health, and you could clean them up very quickly, especially if you have like the heavy shotgun. You can clean them up very quickly after doing that initial damage with the RPG. The RPG is also great for doing a lot of destruction damage. So like, let's say the cash out is on the 2nd floor of this building and I want to bring it down to the 1st floor. I could use the RPG to then blow the cash out down, and then I could, you know, kind of fight the enemies up here. You know, maybe they drop down, fight them, and then use my dome shield to then cover the cash out and steal the cash out, right? So the RPG and dome shield are just such a powerful combo, and they just have so many uses. I mean, like I said, with the dome shield, you can use it to close the gap, so I could throw it either in front of me and kind of slide through it, so now the enemies aren't shooting me, they're shooting the dome shield, and then I can close the gap and kill them. Or you can even throw it on the enemy itself, and now they're like stuck in the dome shield, they can't hurt you, and then you get in there and you can play around it too. You can get in there and do some damage, kind of hop out. Now they're hitting the dome shield, get in there, do some damage, and kind of play around it. And that's super powerful. You could also use it to cover up your teammates. Let's say your teammates are low, you could kind of throw it on your teammates so they could regen and get back into the fight quicker, and they're safe. The dome shield can just be used in so many scenarios that could help you out, especially if you're a heavy shotgun player. It'll just help you to, again, close that distance and allow you to kill the enemy. And if you play around it and just play smart with it, it's just super useful. And again, the RPG just doing that initial damage. I mean, look how much damage I did to him, and I can easily clean them up. So please, if you are playing heavy, use the RPG and use the dome shield. As for the third gadget, it's kind of up to you and up to how you play. I'd say the C4 is very good for if you are someone who uses the heavy shotgun. I would recommend using the C4. And if you're someone who likes to use destruction to your advantage, I would use the C4. And the C4 can also be good for, like, let's say if you're in a scenario, like you get into a gunfight, you could throw the C4 down on the ground and then shoot your RPG, which blows the C4 and hits the enemy. So now it does so much damage to the enemy, making him pretty much one shot or even killing him, and just clean him up very easily. So the C4 can be super powerful still, even with the nerfs done to it. Yes, you cannot nuke with it anymore. There's no possible way of nuking with the C4 anymore. Also, you don't get two of them anymore. You can only get one. However, there's just still so many uses for it. Again, like if you're in a situation where the cash out is above you, and you want to blow the cash out down to the floor you're on, blow it down, and now the cash out's on the level you're on. Now that forces the enemies to have to either jump down and fight you or try to get some damage while they're up there. Most likely they're playing around the cash out though, so they're probably going to get blown down as well. And then you can kind of clean the enemies up, throw your dome shield down, steal the cash out. So the C4 is still very useful, especially at higher levels. You'll see it a lot more. I think it takes a more skilled player to be able to use it and utilize it properly. So you won't see it in casual play as much anymore. You won't see it at lower levels as much anymore. But in higher levels from gold and above, you will start to see it a lot, and you'll see it be utilized a lot. It's just because of how strong it is still. I'd say there still is two other great options though for you, especially if you're someone who would rather use the M60 or the Lewis gun. Then I would highly recommend using barricades. Barricades are super strong. You could place one down, and let's say I'm using the Lewis gun. Okay, place one down and I have the Lewis gun out. Now I could just head glitch on this barricade and easily fight the enemies, all while protecting like 90% of my body. So if you're in a situation where you have this piece of protection that's protecting 90% of your body, and you're fighting an enemy who has no protection, who do you think is going to win that gunfight? Unless they're crazy stupid accurate and they just hit all headshots on you, you're most likely going to win that gunfight because you could see their entire body compared to them who could only see a small portion of your body, that really only being your head and a little bit of your neck. So the barricade is just super powerful, and you could use it to help your teammates. You know, let's say your teammates are hurt, you could throw a barricade in front of your teammates. You know, per se, let's say this is my teammate. Now I can help protect my teammate, so they could kind of use the barricade for themselves and play around it and use it as protection. You could also use it to like help block off certain areas. It's very powerful for, I don't know if there's one in this building, but usually there's like little vents that you could break, and as a medium or light you can go through them, but as a heavy you can't. So if there's a light per se who wants to sneak up on your team from behind, they could kind of go through that vent, sneak up on you, and maybe kill you. But assuming that there's a vent right here, if you have barricades, you could put the barricade in front of the vent, and now they cannot go through that vent at all. They go to break the vent and oh, there's a barricade there. Now they can't sneak through it at all. It's also very good for, like, you can put it in front of doorways to kind of block a doorway off. So now, if they're heavy, they can't even get over the doorway. If they're medium, they now have to jump over, and if there's light, they have to jump over, which exposes them, and you could easily get the drop on them and kill them a lot quicker. So the barricade is just super powerful, and honestly, and what's cool about it too, even though you get 2 at a time, you could place up to 4 of them, if that makes sense. So even though you only have 2, you can place 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the map if you just let them, you know, recharge, which is really cool. Finally, I'd say the last best gadget for the heavy builds is the anti-gravity cube. Now, the anti-gravity cube, I'd say it's a very situational gadget. You're not always going to be using it, so I'd say it's not as good as the C4 or the barricade, but it can be very good in the situations in which you can use it. So, like, per se, the cash out's on the first floor, but there's a clear opening all the way up top. You know, like, you have a hole in the second floor, a hole in the third floor, like this, and the cash out's down here. And maybe there's only a couple seconds left, you don't want it to get stolen. You could throw the anti-gravity cube down, and now the cash out will start floating, and it just makes it so much harder to steal that cash out, because, you know, now the cash out's floating up in the air. It'd also help you with, like, getting, you know, as a heavy, you don't have much mobility, so it could help you to get to, you know, the second floor easier, or the third floor easier. It could also help you for, like, let's say you get into a gunfight and you kind of want to mess with the enemies and, like, stop an enemy from pretty much being able to fight. You could throw the anti-gravity cube onto an enemy, and obviously it's not going to do it to these, like, practice dummies here, but typically an enemy would start floating up, and which makes them, like, super inaccurate, because you're just, like, constantly floating and moving, and it's just going to make it a lot harder to shoot while stuck in the anti-gravity cube. It's also very good for if you kill an enemy and their totem's down, you could actually throw the anti-gravity cube on the totem, so then the totem starts floating up to the roof, and now it's going to make it a lot more difficult for their medium to come up and heal them, because they can't just run up and heal them. Now they have to, like, float up and heal them while their totem's up on the roof, which is a lot more difficult and leaves them exposed, and you could easily just gun them down as they're floating up. So the anti-gravity cube definitely can be super strong. It just depends on the scenario you're in and what kind of situation is currently unfolding. But I'd say if you are a more skilled player and you are a more creative player and you kind of like to make very creative plays, then the anti-gravity cube can definitely be very useful for you. I'd say for the other gadgets, I really wouldn't touch, at least for the heavy build, as the C4 barricade and anti-gravity cube are the best 3 for your third option, and then RPG and dome shield are guaranteed going to be the 2 best and going to take up your first 2 slots. So everything else I wouldn't really touch. The motion sensor is pretty useless. Explosive mines are all right. Pyro mines are pretty bad. Pyro grenades are bad. Goo grenade can be good, but a goo grenade over a barricade, I'd take barricade all day. Gas grenade and frag grenade definitely can be good, but compared to these options, I just wouldn't touch them, and flashbang is just bad. So I wouldn't really touch any other gadget. But yeah, so to recap, the best stuff for the heavy build, at least for ranked, is for your specialization going to be, for most people, the mesh shield. For weapons, the 3 best weapons are going to be the SA-1216, aka the heavy shotgun, the Lewis gun, and the M60. It all just kind of depends on what your playstyle is, how good of a player you are, how experienced of a player you are, and if you like to kind of close the gap, get up close, and do a lot of damage up close, or kind of play at a distance and kill people from a distance. But I'd say the best overall is the heavy shotgun. Then for gadgets, 150%, you want to always run the RPG and the dome shield as your first 2 gadgets. And then for your third gadget, you can either run the C4, the barricade, or the anti-gravity cube. And yeah, that's all I really want to talk about today. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys found something useful, and I hope you guys were able to at least gain some sort of knowledge to help you within your ranked matches if you're playing as a heavy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please give the video a like. And if you guys want more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and bye guys, have a good one.